Welcome back here too to our topics lesson. Today we're going to carry on looking at Tutankhamun. But today we're going to be looking at the life of the king. Very little is known about King Tutankhamun's childhood. We do, however, know a lot about the reign of his father, Akhenaten. Therefore, we can look into the life of Tutankhamun as a child. We know his father was Akhenaten, whose reign we will look at in a moment. This helps to give us an understanding of what Tutankhamun's childhood may have been like. Nefertiti is the wife of Akhenaten. She is more likely to be Tutankhamun's stepmother rather than his actual mother. It's believed that Queen Kia, another wife of Akhenaten, was in fact Tutankhamun's mother. But there are still many questions if she actually was his mother. Nobody really knows for sure. Tutankhamun's father was originally known as Amenhotep IV, but he later changed his name to Akhenaten in honor of the sun god, the Aten. Akhenaten and Nefertiti supported radical changes in religion. She and her husband tried to change the religion from the belief in many gods to only one god, which we're going to look at. Before Akhenaten's rule, Thebes, now known as Luxor, was the capital city of Egypt. This is where all the pharaohs for hundreds of years had ruled from. But things were about to change. When Akhenaten became pharaoh, he decided to abandon Thebes and build his new city, dedicated to only one god. This also ended the worship for all the other gods which the people of Egypt were used to. The people who lived and worked in Thebes were expected to leave with the pharaoh, forget about all the old gods, and worship the Aten and the pharaoh. As you can imagine, most of the people were not happy at all about his decision. Now if we look on the map of Egypt, we can see where Thebes is circled. This city was abandoned in favour of Amarna, as you can see, which is circled now. Akhenaten hoped to forget about everything left in Thebes and start his new city with his new religion. As we saw before, the Egyptians had many gods and goddesses, who they all worshipped and feared as well as loved. Most Egyptians stayed loyal to their gods and goddesses rather than their new pharaoh, and were angered by his decision. Akhenaten worshipped the Aten, the sun. He believed that the sun was giving life to all of Egypt, and him and Nefertiti started their cult of worship and expected the people of Egypt to follow. Not only did Akhenaten change religion and the city, but he changed the style of art. We can see here Nefertiti and Akhenaten with their daughters, but we never see a depiction of Tutankhamun with the family. Where is he? Where's his mother? Nobody really knows. But we do know that Tutankhamun would have spent his childhood in Amarna, growing up around the pharaoh. The son of a hated pharaoh needed to prove himself to the people. Tutankhamun was originally called Tutankhaten, and he later changed his name to Tutankhamun when he became pharaoh. He changed his name in honor of the old gods. This pleased the people of Egypt. He abandoned the city of Amarna and went back to Thebes and started worshipping the old gods and opened the temples, and daily life carried on as it used to before the reign of Akhenaten. Tutankhamun was around 8 or 9 when he became pharaoh, That's not much different to you. Due to his age, he had advisors who were powerful men who would help the king. We have I, the chief vizier, and we have Horemheb, the commander of the army. Both were powerful men and couldn't really be trusted, as both wanted to be the pharaohs themselves. Now that the pharaoh and the people had moved back to the city of Thebes, the city of Amarna was defaced and destroyed for loyalty for the gods and goddesses of Egypt. Tutankhamun married the daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. She is called an Exonym Moon. Both an Exonym Moon and Tutankhamun were very close. They knew that they could only trust each other. Upon Tutankhamun's death, an Exonym Moon would later reach out to foreign kings for help, as she knew that nobody in the Egyptian government could be trusted. Sadly, this was the world that Tutankhamun lived in. A very unstable and untrusting world. We see images of King Tutankhamun as a young, strong man who enjoyed archery, hunting, and chariot racing. But the reality is very different. Even though Tutankhamun was a young man, he suffered from many illnesses and health problems. He walked with a walking stick due to bone issues, which left both his feet in bad conditions. He suffered with malaria and various other illnesses. A common belief that lasted for many years was that Tutankhamun was murdered by either I or Horemheb, as both men wanted to take the throne of Egypt, but studies show that Tutankhamun actually died of ill health. One theory is that his body shows a fracture in the knee that has not healed. Maybe this got infected and killed him. Or it could have been one of the many other illnesses that the pharaoh suffered from, particularly malaria. Despite being the most famous pharaoh ever to rule Egypt, I think we can see that his life was pretty uneventful compared to many pharaohs before and after him. What really made him famous was his tomb discovery, intact, full of gold. In our next lesson, we'll look at Tutankhamun's rise of fame into the discovery of his tomb. We will gaze upon his true face. We will look at the discovery and the people involved and what we've learned from his life. We've gained more information from Tutankhamun's tomb about his life than from anywhere else, which we're going to look at in our next lesson. Many people think that Tutankhamun did very little for Egypt, but I like to think that he did a tremendous amount. He changed back to the old religion and moved away from the new capital and brought peace back to Egypt. His father's reign brought many problems to Egypt, which Tutankhamun would later fix. So many people living 3,500 years ago may disagree with the textbooks that say he did nothing. Okay, year 2, let's have some questions now. Who was Tutankhamun's father? That's right, Akhenaten. Let's see. Why was he called the Boy King? Great, because he was 8 or 9 years old when he became the king, so he was a boy. What was the name of the city that Tutankhamun grew up in? The city that his father built? Amarna, that's correct. What was Tutankhamun's wife's name? It's a tricky one. That's right, Exonym Moon. I hope you enjoyed the lesson again, Year 2, learning about your amazing history and your amazing pharaohs. I'll see you next lesson. Goodbye.